Well, welcome back to another edition of 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse. And September 23rd, we lost a really great actress and a truly beautiful woman, Claudia Cardinale, at age 87. 128 something acting credits in some great films, including, in the 60s, that's where she took off. Besides doing a lot of Italian movies, she was in 1966's The Professionals as the kidnapped wife of Ralph Bellamy, who wasn't really kidnapped, but sent a bunch of people after her, and they brought her back, and that was with Lee Marvin, Burt Lancaster, Robert Ryan, and Woody Strode at the helm. And she really stood out in that film. She was really something nice to look at. But let's go back to the film that she made her own, that she did for Sergio Leone in 1968, called Once Upon a Time in the West. Now, you might be saying, well, how did she make that film her own when it had Charles Bronson, Jason Robards, Henry Fonda, and a bunch of other heavy hitters? It's simple. If you look back on the films of Sergio Leone, starting with For a Few Dollars More, even though it was a Clint Eastwood movie, it was Lee Van Cleef's film. The same with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Even though, again, Lee Van Cleef was in it, and it was Eastwood's film, Eli Wallach was the main guy. So, with Once Upon a Time in the West, it became Claudia Cardinale. She was a mail-order bride brought out to marry Frank McBain, played by Frank Wolf. And the thing was that he had bought a farm out in the middle of nowhere and everybody had laughed at him, but there was water there. And there was a railroad coming through. So she was out to meet the family when the entire family is gunned down by Frank's gang. Frank is played by Henry Fonda. And Henry Fonda is someone who Sergio Leone desperately wanted to work with. He tried to get him for a few dollars more, and it didn't work because, of course, Henry had never heard of Sergio Leone. It was only when he talked to Eli Wallach that he took the role, because Eli Wallach told him what a great director Leone was, and you'll have a blast working with him. So yeah, and the thing was that American audiences couldn't handle the fact of Henry Fonda as a bad guy, and that he shot down a kid in the opening moments of the film. The other one cast was Charles Bronson, someone else who Leone desperately wanted, who turned him down for all three of the Dollars films, but took this role as the revenge seeker. Jason Robards was in there as an outlaw Cheyenne, because the people that perpetrated the murders were wearing the same dusters that his gang wore, pretty much framing him for the murder. So there you have the cast of four characters, and a bunch of incidentals, like Keenan Wynn was there. I believe Lionel Stander was also in there. Originally, Leone's vision was to have Eastwood, Van Cleef, and Wallach meet Bronson getting off the train to signify the Old West going into the New West. Well, the lone holdout was Eastwood, and there was a rift between Eastwood and Leone going back to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, because half of that film's budget was Eastwood's salary. So, again, he got somebody else he wanted to work with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Jack Elam was the guy he wanted to be one of the guys that tried to ambush the Eli Wallach character Tuco and lost his arm in the process. That role went to Al Mullock. So, the three guys that met the train were Jack Elam, Al Mullock, and Woody Strode. And this opened the door for Woody Strode, because it was a $10,000 deal to get him in, and it opened the door for him to do a lot of spaghetti westerns and crime films in Europe. Al Mullock, unfortunately, was a drug addict, and he goes back into the 50s as an actor and things like that. He also taught acting at one point and was in a couple Tarzan movies, Tarzan's Greatest Adventure and Tarzan and the Trappers. So for whatever reason, he committed suicide by jumping out of a hotel window. So there was a whole rigmarole going on, but the thing was that it's Claudia's film. Claudia shines in every scene she's in. And Claudia made the film her own, regardless of how many great actors surrounded her. So it's just sad that, another one of the most beautiful women of the 60s and 70s films is no longer with us. Like I said, she passed away on the 23rd at age 87. So I think tonight I'm going to revisit Once Upon a Time in the West because I already just watched The Professionals a few months ago. So these are great films, and she was a great actress, and all I can do is say rest in peace and thank you for the great films and performances you've given us. A couple other ones she was in, Fitzcarraldo with Kinski and the Pink Panther. And there was also somebody had put up a thing where she basically was posing with Frank Zappa for something, in I guess some kind of magazine ad or something. Truly beautiful woman, and she will be missed. So that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next week on the flip side.